Imagine you are lying in your bed after a long day. Your breathing is slow. Your heart is working at its normal rate. And then suddenly, there comes a moment when your heart stops beating. Does everything end at that moment? Or does the real journey begin from there? This question has been circulating in the minds of humans for thousands of years. Be it the civilization of ancient Egypt, the philosophers of Greece, the ancient traditions of Asia, or the major religions of the world. In almost every era, humans have tried to find out what happens after death. Even today, this question is present in the minds of millions of people around the world. Interestingly, modern science has discovered countless secrets. We have reached space, measured the depths of the ocean, studied the human genome, but one question has not been completely solved even today. What happens after death? Because in the end, we will know how modern science finally defines death, what different beliefs say about it, and why what happens after death is still considered one of the world's greatest mysteries. In today's video, we will not examine myth, but rather what science has researched. And we will also mention the beliefs that different people around the world believe in. Where something is proven, we will state it as a fact. And where there are different theories, we will present them as theories. So let's start the journey. First of all, it is important to understand when doctors declare a person dead. Usually, when the heart stops beating, breathing stops, and the brain stops getting oxygen, the body enters a stage that is called clinical death in medical language. But the surprising thing is that even when the heart stops, all the cells in the body do not die at the same moment. Research has shown that different parts of the body stop working at different rates. The heart stops, the lungs stop, but some brain cells continue to use their last energy for a few moments. Now imagine, your heart has stopped beating. Blood stops traveling throughout the body. Oxygen supply begins to run out. At that moment, an unusual condition occurs in the brain. Some scientists examined the brain signals of patients whose hearts had suddenly stopped. In some studies, it was seen that even immediately after the heart stopped, specific electrical activity was seen in the brain for a few moments. However, scientists still do not agree on what this activity is related to consciousness. This is where a new question arises. If the brain remains active for a few moments longer, can a person also be aware of these moments? This is the question that has puzzled scientists around the world. There are many people who were declared dead by doctors for a few minutes, but thanks to modern medical care, their lives were saved. When they returned, some of them made surprising claims. Someone said that he saw a bright light. Someone said that he felt as if he was looking down on his body from above. Someone said that he felt a deep peace. But was this really a glimpse after death? Or was it the last biological activity of the brain? Science has not yet been able to give a definitive answer to this question. Some experts believe that a severe lack of oxygen can produce such visions in the brain. Other scientists say that the matter is probably more complicated than that. And this is where science and faith seem to diverge. Different religions of the world have different beliefs about life after death. Many people believe in the continuation of life in heaven, hell, or some other form, while some believe that consciousness ends forever after death. But if we talk only about scientific evidence, there is no evidence to date that can definitively prove what happens to consciousness after death. And then an incident came to light that made researchers around the world think. A person whose heart stopped for several minutes later regained consciousness and described details that he said he had seen during unconsciousness. Was he right? Or had his brain later created a memory? This question is still the subject of research today. But the real surprise still remains, because not just one or two such people, but thousands of people from different countries of the world have described similar experiences. Is it all just a coincidence? Does the human brain react the same way when approaching death? Or is there a hidden truth behind this mystery that science has not yet fully understood? That is the question we will seek to answer, where we will learn the amazing stories of people who came very close to death and then came back. We saw what changes occur in the body when the heart stops beating, and also learned that some people who came very close to death and came back to life describe amazing experiences. But now the most important question arises. What did these people see? Was it really a glimpse of the afterlife? Or is it an unusual defense mechanism of the human brain? Let's delve deeper into these questions. Many patients have been recorded in hospitals around the world whose hearts stopped for a few minutes. Doctors revived revive them with the help of CPR, defibrillators, and modern medical equipment. After regaining consciousness, some of these people told amazing things. Many people said that at first, they felt as if they had separated from their body. According to them, they were looking at themselves from above, while doctors below were trying to save their lives. Some people have reported hearing voices around them, but was it really so? Scientists say there is no definitive proof. Neuroscientists believe that a lack of oxygen, the release of certain chemicals, and sudden changes in brain activity can cause people to experience sensations that feel real. Still, one question remains. Why do thousands of people from different countries, languages, and cultures report similar experiences? Some people described a long, dark tunnel with a bright light at the end. Others described a feeling of deep peace and complete cessation of fear. Others said they felt as if time had stopped. But not everyone's experiences were the same. Many people said they didn't remember anything. They simply fell unconscious and then suddenly woke up in the hospital. This discrepancy is a mystery even to scientists. If every brain reacted the same way when near death, then perhaps everyone would have the same experiences. But the reality is much more complex than that. That is why various research centers around the world are still studying these events today. Some researchers believe that near-death experiences are actually the brain's last attempt, when it tries to keep information organized despite a severe lack of oxygen. Other experts say that we do not yet have enough evidence to reach a single conclusion. Meanwhile, another interesting question has emerged. If a person has been unconscious for several minutes, how did he have such clear memory? Can the brain preserve these moments, or is this memory formed later? There is still no definitive answer to this question. This is why even the world's leading scientists speak carefully about this topic. Now, think from another angle. For thousands of years, different religions and civilizations have expressed their own beliefs about life after death. Some people link these experiences to these beliefs, while others say that these events should only be seen in the light of scientific research. So far, no research has come forward that has proven that near-death experience is definitely evidence of life after death, nor is there any research that has completely proven that it is just a delusion of the mind. That is, this mystery still exists today, and perhaps this is what makes this topic so interesting. But there is still another surprising question. If the heart stops, the mind starts to go silent, and the body loses signs of life. So what is the moment when a person can be called truly dead? Does it only happen when the heart stops, or does the brain make the real decision? This question is extremely important, not only for science, but also for modern medicine, and the answer to it might change your mind. But now we have reached the final stage of this question. When is a person truly dead? Until a few decades ago, the answer was relatively easy for doctors. If the heart stops beating and breathing stops, a person is considered dead. But modern medicine has changed this concept. Today, in many countries, if a person's heart can be restarted with the help of machines, cardiac arrest alone is not considered the final sign of death. That is why doctors now give the most importance to the brain. If the brain loses all its basic functions forever, and there is no hope of returning, it is called brain death. This is the stage where, according to current medical knowledge, a person cannot come back to life again. But here too, a question remains. If science can explain the death of the body, has it also fully understood the death of consciousness? The answer is not yet. Consciousness is still one of the greatest mysteries of science. We know that the brain thinks, remembers, dreams, and makes decisions. But how does the feeling that I exist arise? No one has a complete answer yet. That is why when people describe near-death experiences, science certainly studies them, but has not yet reached a single conclusion. Now let's take a look at the different beliefs of the world. Almost every major civilization and religion believes in one way or another that the journey of man continues after death in some form or another. But the details of these beliefs differ from one another. That is why it is important to understand that religious beliefs are a matter of faith, while science only talks about things that can be tested through observation and experimentation. This is why the two do not always answer in the same language. Now, ask yourself for a moment, if you were convinced that you only had 1 year to live, would you live the same life you do today? Or would your decisions change? Maybe you would spend more time with your family. Maybe you would let go of your resentment. Maybe you would try to fulfill the dreams you have been putting off for years. That is the lesson that death teaches us while we are alive. It does not only remind us of the end, but it also teaches us the value of life. Maybe that is why the world's great philosophers have have been saying that the person who tries to understand death actually learns to live life better. And now we come back to the question that started this whole story. What happens after death? If you ask science, it will say that we still have a lot to learn. If you ask different religions, then each religion will answer according to its own belief. And if you ask people who have been close to death and returned, then each of them will tell their own story. So then, what is the real truth? The truth is that to date, there is no scientific evidence that can tell with certainty what happens to consciousness after death. Similarly, different religions and philosophies present their own belief, which believers believe in. Perhaps this is why the mystery of death is still one of the biggest questions of humanity. And maybe one day we will all know the answer to this question for ourselves. But until then, all we have is research, observation, questions, and hope. Because there are some mysteries that scare, surprise, and teach us the true value of life.